Yes, people, big up everybody. It's your boy CultureCams. And listen, I did say at 30k I would do a Q&A. So it's time to do that. Guys, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you turn your notifications on and subscribe, please. Because maybe I'll do it again at 40k or 50k. But now it's the road to 40k. So guys, 30k Q&A. You guys have sent in a lot of questions in the community post. And you've also sent in a lot of questions on X, which I asked on, well, Twitter, whatever, which I asked on there. So we're going to go through those. I'm probably going to start with the ones that were on Twitter, and then I'm going to get into some of the ones that are on the community post. If your question doesn't get read out, I apologize. There's honestly about 70 on Twitter, and there's quite a few on the community post. But again, we can either save some or we'll do some for the 40,000 or 50,000. Okay, so let's start with okay, so Ken Adams 203. He says, "What's your inspiration behind your work that you do right now, and who influenced you to do what you do?" So, the inspiration behind my work that I do right now is the people around me, I would say. You know what I mean? It's the people around me, it's the people in my industry. Of course, my family. I can't do any of this without my family, you know what I mean? So the support of my family, the inspiration behind it is changing people's lives that are around me, you know what I mean? So with what I do, if I can bless others with the fortune that I get, that's my main aim. You know, when I get tickets, when I get opportunities, I love to try and bring people with me that are not probably getting that same situation or getting that same opportunity that I would. And I grew up, everybody was football fans, you know, we're all football fans, we all love it. So it's good to be able to, not, I wouldn't say bless, but, you know, help people in that way. And who influenced me to do what I do now? Do you know what? Funny enough, right? Thing that influenced me to do what I do now is the American NBA analysts, you know what I mean? Like when I used to work in my old job, I used to do something where I used to be in like a post room. Well, that was part of the job. And I always needed something to watch while I was doing this stuff, you know? And when I was doing it, I would always have Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharps, Stephen A. Smith, Chris Carr, Nick Wright, all these people just be on repeat. Every single thing. NFL, I don't even watch NFL, and I'm watching their analysis, and I was like, bro, like, I can't believe people are getting money to talk football. Like, I never knew that was a thing. It just sounds crazy, but I just didn't. And especially that people that didn't play the game professionally, you know, especially in America, they got a lot of journalists that talk and are respected. So I was like, bro, there's an opportunity for this. So I just, you know, gave it a go. I got to give a big shout out to my boy Ishmael. One of my boys, Ishmael, he's the one that sent me my first ever opportunity. He was like, I think this would be good for you. He sent me a link to an audition for something. And yeah, man, then the rest is history. So shout out to Ishmael. And my inspiration behind my work is, you know, the people around me. You know what I'm saying? HP, Liez, Sharky, Chunk, all these people in the industry. They inspire me to keep going, and Fuad, Maze, they inspire me to keep going and being the best that I can be. So, yeah, that's. I would say that's the answer for that one. Okay, next question: who would you support if Nigeria faced England in a knockout game at the 2026 World Cup? I will be supporting Nigeria. You know, Nigeria played England in the 2018 World Cup build-up. And I was supporting Nigeria. You know, I was in the Nigeria side. I had my Nigeria top on. You know, not many people, like black people, or like to say that they support England, but I actually support England. You know what I'm trying to say? England were probably my first real introduction into football. And I like England. You know what I mean? You know, they're the players that you see the most. They're the players that you can relate to the most. And, you know, if there was going to be if England were to win something, bro, the streets in this country will be absolutely lit. So I support England, but Nigeria, I'm saying that's the motherland. You know what I mean? That's where I feel I'm from, as much as I feel like I'm from England, but I'm Nigerian and I know that. So there's no doubt that if Nigeria played England, I'll be supporting Nigeria. Do you know what I'm saying? But hey, whoever wins, wins. If England go through, I'll be supporting them for the rest of the tournament. But definitely Nigeria. But hey, you're talking about the 2026 World Cup. Who the hell said we're getting there? Who the hell said we're getting there? We might not get there, man. That's what we need to focus on. Not hypothetical matches. We might not even be there. So I got asked, how hard is it to keep your opinions as unfiltered as possible, given the fact that you work hard to get yourself in a position where you're interviewing current players, etc.? Are you able to be as blunt as you want about players, even if you potentially might run into them in the future? Big up. Been watching you since Stoppage Time 2019. Big up, man. Appreciate that, Mohammed Hassan. You know what it is? It's not hard to keep my opinions to myself in terms of, or to filter them. Me, I've always just been on the basis that I don't abuse football players. You know what I'm trying to say? I won't say anything that I wouldn't go and say to a player's face, because I'm not going to go and provoke somebody. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't go to somebody and be like, oh, I think this guy's a bum. You know what I mean? I don't say that. You know, when I mess around, even when I mess around about players, I'm never abusing them. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I maintain. If you watch all my content, I think there's been maybe 1 or 2 occasions I might have been like, oh, this guy is shit or something. But even then, I don't say them things. I'll say I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he can play at this level. He shouldn't play for United. He shouldn't play for whatever. But I try and avoid abusing. Even like, you know, I say the whole Gmote thing with Salah and all that. I'm not abusing him. So when I say these things, is I maintain that if I was to see these players, I'm able to say these things to them if it ever got brought up, you know? So I'm very real like that. I don't find it hard. The hardest part is actually talking about Man United, because listen, football clubs are sensitive, you know? They don't like it when you speak about their club, especially when you're meant to be a fan of the club. So there's been this few times where, you know, I've gotten a message about something that I've said about Man United, whatever. But that's the only tough part, because you want to support the club. You want to have opportunities to work with your football club. You want to, but it will never make me not be real about Manchester United. You know, that's the hardest one. Honestly, it's easy with everyone else. I don't care about Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea. That's fine. And I have opportunities to work with these players, whatever. But Man United is a tough one, because I'm the most emotionally invested into it. You know what I mean? So there is going to be times where my head is gone. Go and watch my reaction to Bilbao. My head was gone. Your head was gone. So it's like that's the tough one, because as I said, you always want to be able to support. You want to support your team, but you got to call it out how you need to call it out, because end of the day, you guys watching, you guys supporting, want to hear me be real. Otherwise, you'll just go and listen to like Wes Brown on MUTV, who's never going to give his real opinion. It's always going to be filtered. So my duty is my own channel, and my duty is my own platforms. Anything else, I guess the people that are hiring me, please know what you're getting into. Do you know what I mean? That's as real as it is. Unknown G asks, have you ever had any encounters with footballers or famous people? Been watching you since Stoppage Time TV days, where big up, man. Appreciate Unknown G. Have I had any awkward encounters with footballers? Or do you know what? I'll be honest. I've been very, very, very lucky to any interviews, any actual work that I've had to do has been with players that I rate or speak highly of or whatever, you know? So I've actually been lucky. I haven't had any awkward encounters with any players or famous people. I always tell this funny story about when I met Mark Bright, Crystal Palace legend, and he swerved me when I was the only person in the whole of Westfield that recognized him. Do you know what I mean? And I was like in year 8 or something like that. And I was like, oh, you're Mark Bright on Match of the Day. And he was like, I'm with my kids. I was like, okay. That's the only one where I would say was probably an awkward or a dead encounter with an ex-footballer or whatever. But other than that, no, I've met so many, and they've all been very, very cool. And in terms of working opportunities, I've had opportunities to work with certain players that I have been very, very critical of, and I've turned it down. And that's the reality. I've said, no, I don't want to do that. Well, I'm not going to name the names, but I have done interviews with players and turned down the interview. So, you know, I don't think I could ever have real awkward encounters with anybody anyway, bro, because me, I'm very real. If somebody says, why did you say this? Or what do you think about it? I'll tell them. Do you know what I mean? But I'm always going to say it's all football. I don't talk about people's personal lives. And I don't talk about I don't talk about people personally, and I don't abuse them, as I said, you know. Like, I used to get onto Kyle Walker, what he was doing for England. I met Kyle Walker at Man City, and it was perfectly fine, you know. But these people are nice people. At the end of the day, I just have my opinion about them as players. Nabilionaire. My Nabilionaire says, who is the second Gmote? The second Gmote in football at the moment is probably Bruno. It's probably Bruno Fernandes. I'd say that. It's probably Bruno Fernandes. Guys, a lot of people be asking me, strikers are not included in Gmote. If you're a striker, ST, you're not included in the Gmote, man. So people be like, how can your favorite player have been Van Nistelrooy? He's a Gmote. He's not a Gmote. That's his absolute job role. Score! That's all we need from you. Strikers, Haaland, you're not included. The second Gmote is Bruno Fernandes right now. You know, if historically there's others, but right now it's Bruno. PM Wiss 04, he says, why do you look like Ant? And I think he's talking about Anthony Edwards. Genuinely, guys, I only see it from sometimes. But the way people make it out as if we're like walking twins, I think is an exaggeration. I don't see it as much as people are saying. I see it sometimes. Hey, he copied my trim. That's all I'm going to say. He used to have plaits. He copied my trim. And I think the thing as well is because we both wear hoop earrings as well. But listen, he's actually one of my favorite players. I've had to tone down talking about him because people are always in my mentions talking about, oh, that's you. Drop 50 today. I think I get it once a day. At least once a day, I get a comment about Anthony Edwards. It's crazy. Honestly, one day I need to link up with him and take a picture, bro. And blow people's minds, honestly. CFC Ref, he says, what would you be doing if you're not doing content creation? I don't know. That's a good question, because I don't know if in this time I would have found another hobby. I would have found another like love for something, or, you know, some people do stocks and get into trading and all that stuff. But all I can say is what I used to do is I was in real estate. I was an estate agent, used to rent houses. I did some housing jobs, you know, worked for the council as well. But most of my things was in housing. Listen, my advice to people that are looking and trying to find a career, I think housing is brilliant, because housing forever, no matter what, guys, AI and new technology and blah blah blah, you're always going to need a home. You're always going to need a roof over your head. And so the housing market will never ever die, you know, never die. So people, if you want, I would say get into housing, man. I think that's a great lane to get into. It's a sustainable one, and it's one forever, and it's one that you can pass down. If you ever get big enough, you can pass it down to your kids, and it can become a generational thing. So yeah, I was doing housing. I think I got the gift of the gab. I speak well, I banter, you know. I'm good at meeting people on first occasions, and I brought those skills into content creation and interviewing and all them type of stuff. So yeah, I'll probably be doing something in housing, I'd say. So we've got Glory I says, what's your advice for a fellow Nigerian trying to get into the football content space? Now, I'm not just going to box it in for Nigerians. Big up yourself, of course, but I'm not going to box it in for that. I would say your advice is just get started, man. That's my advice. A lot of people think they need a stimmy pack. They need money. They need this. No, you don't need any of that. You just need to have confidence, and you just need to be consistent. Sounds very cliche, but it's the same thing I tell everybody. Only way I got where I am, and I'm still not where I want to be. There's still, the rain just came from nowhere, but I'm still not where I want to be. There's many places that I want to go still. However, the reason why I am where I am now is because of my confidence and because I was consistent, and I ignored online trolls and haters. That is important. You cannot let comments, you cannot let haters get you down. If you believe in your craft, keep going, because no matter what walk in life, if you want to be known, you're going to deal with hate. Even football players. Cristiano, he gets hate. Funny enough, Messi gets hate. Everybody gets hate. It's about how you deal with it. You know what I mean? But again, just start. I always say just start. I started by doing videos on my phone. You know what I mean? Then I ended up getting a laptop. Then I got YouTube. That's how it was. Then I met some friend. We did a podcast. I just got going and I stayed consistent. Because the worst thing you want, right, is even if you have 20 people watching, only 20, bro, they're that 20 want to come back next week and see what you're saying. And then next week, and next week. Then 20 goes to 40, then 40 goes to 80, then 80 goes to 160, and it keeps going. You never know. But you can't give up. That's what I would say. You can't give up. And be authentic. That's most important as well. Be your authentic self. Because for me, personally, I think I can see through people who are not being their authentic self. So I would say that as well. JY says, why don't you do content with Rants and Saeed anymore? Genuine question. The reason why we don't do content as much anymore is because I was not consistent on YouTube, realistically. When I used to do content with them was when I was just kind of building my YouTube a little bit. And I was a little bit more consistent back then. But then I took like a 2-3 year break off YouTube. You know, I was doing other things. I was doing some brand work and all these type of stuff, which I still do. But I'm now got my mentality more towards building my YouTube and working and being more consistent on this side as well. So listen, guys, there's no beef between me, Rants, and Saeed or anything. They're my brothers. I speak to them all the time. I speak to Rants all the time. On WhatsApp, I speak to Saeed. I still done content with Saeed, just not on his channel. But next season, I'll probably be on the channels. You know, we'll do some stuff a lot more. But right now, I'm kind of just building my thing, building my community, because, you know, you don't want to sometimes, even though a lot of people share communities, you want to build yours and have yours. You want people to know what your lingo is, what your opinions are, what, you know what I mean? So they can bring you back. Like, I remember when you said this 7 weeks ago, how come you, but when you're bringing in like from other communities, it sometimes can get muddled. I want it to organically by myself, people to come here. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But Rants and Saeed, I will do some stuff with them next season or even this summer. Who knows, man? Those are my guys, and those are two of, if you're still watching the video, they're two of my inspirations too, man. Look at the way they built their channels from the ground. Didn't care. They don't care about haters. They don't care about nothing. They just built their channels, and now they're flying in the 100Ks. So those two are also inspirations to me as well, man. Real talks. You can take inspiration from the people around you. You know what I'm saying? And Rants was the person that helped me get my first 1,000 views. My first 1,000, subs. We stayed on stream until I got 1,000 subs. So I'll never forget those little kind of moments. You know what I'm trying to say? No matter what people try and say about Rants, that guy's a real one. You know what I'm saying? Lionel Medina 1939 says, where did you meet Liaz? So me and Liaz actually met. This is random as hell, right? So there was Liaz used to do comp making, right? So Liaz made a comp actually of Raquelme. I love Raquelme, right? And I was like, yo, this is a proper comp, like, yeah, real ballers type shit. You know, guys, you guys know how I am. Then Liaz followed me, and then we followed each other. And then Liaz was you know, we'll talk every now and again. He'll say he really likes my work and da-da-da. And I was like, big up, bro, you're cold at your editing and stuff. Cold. And then we just stayed online. And then obviously Liaz started his YouTube channel, and he asked me to come on. I think I'm his first guest on his YouTube ever. Ever. And at the time, he's just in America. You know what I mean? It's not a thing where we're like, yeah, you're going to live in the UK. He's just a guy in America that I thought, I like your tweets. I like your comps. So I said, yeah, come, I'll do it, you know? So I went on his channel. We spoke about Man United a bit. And then after that, what was the thing that we did after that? Oh yeah. So then he moved to the UK now. And then I was working at Goal at the time. And I was doing some scripting. And I was like, I need someone that can be able to tell a story. And Liaz used to do this thing called the Archive, where he'll tell stories while going through players' careers and stuff. And I was like, right, this guy's talented, you know what I'm saying? So I said to Liaz, yo, I know you're in London now. Yo, do you want to link me? We'll go to this building, like office space, and I need to do a script about, I think it was Man United or Abramovich. I can't remember. You want to come help? And me and him, he just came. He helped me with my scripting. And then that's how we first actually met in the flesh. And then from there, it just went on and on and on. And then Liaz, I had the opportunity to potentially go with FTBL, and they were talking about who I think could help me, like, you know, do certain things. I was like, Liaz can help me. Like, he's very good at behind the scenes stuff, and he can edit as well. And then in the end, we just ended up just really just having a 2-man show anyway. So that's how I met Liaz, and that's how I started working. And Liaz returned the favor, you know. I brought him into FTBL, and Liaz pretty much brought me into Bleacher Report. So, you know what I mean? We've been here, we've been doing this together, and we're gonna continue to do so. You know what I'm saying? So shout out him. But yeah, that's the story of how I met Liaz. Emil Chaos 1489 says your history on how you became a United supporter. Okay, this is one I need to answer because I get asked this a lot. This is I'm gonna say it. I've said it a few times, but I'll say it on my channel because I don't think I've said it on my channel. I used to live in America. I used to live at Atlanta, Georgia. I was from Sewanee. I used to live out there, Gwinnett County, and when I was in America, I was just a basketball fan. I wanted to be a basketball player. I was a basketball fan. The only football that I actually knew was my brother playing football. He used to play football up in his high school, whatever it was, right? So I only used to watch him. And then we moved back to the UK, and my brother's a Chelsea fan. You know, my dad's a Spurs fan. And no matter what, I've always been somebody that wanted to have my own things, you know? So my brother's Chelsea, my dad is Arsenal. My cousins are, my dad's Tottenham. My cousins are Arsenal. And I was like, I want to have kind of like, because I used to like that my cousin will come to my brother and be like, Thierry Henry, you know what I mean? And then my brother can go and be like, Kurt Johnson. And my dad will be telling me about a couple of Tottenham things. I used to want to have my own. I never used to think like, yeah, let me be Chelsea or but I was close, you know, I'll be honest, I was close to being a Chelsea fan. But then when I moved to the UK, my closest friend at the time, I wonder if he's ever watching, but his name was Yusuf. Yusuf was a Man United fan, so he used to come into school with Man United underneath his school shirt and stuff. And he used to be like, bro, like we're the best team, like blah, 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 come and support us, da, da, da. And I used to be like, my brother supports Chelsea, so I think I'm going to have to support Chelsea. But he was like, nah, trust me, da, da, da. So I was like, cool. I just asked my parents for a Man United top. I was like, I want a Man United top for my birthday. They got me one. I've still got a picture of it, of me as a kid in that top. And then the rest is history, man. I started supporting Man United for them. Really and truly, it's because of my boy. So if my boy was a Liverpool fan or a Bolton fan or whatever, I would have probably started supporting them. You know what I'm saying? So it was really because of my boy. He was my first friend in the UK, male friend anyway. And yeah, man, that's the story of how I became a United fan. Part of it is following, part of it is being a hater. But it's funny when people say, oh, you're a glory hunter. I'm like, bro, I didn't even know Man United were cold them days. Do you know what I mean? I only used to see what he's saying. I'd go and watch. I'd see Ruud van Nistelrooy banging goals, and I'm like, I love this guy. This is my favorite footballer. That is the story. Like, I don't have no like, oh, it's because they're always winning. And bro, genuinely, that is not my story. But yeah, in the end, anyway, here we are. I ain't seen no glory in 13 damn years, man. 13 damn years. But that's the story of how I became a Manchester United fan. Some of these questions, by the way, people, a lot that you guys have asked me are very much topics that I can do as a full episode. Do you know what I mean? Or like part of something else. So I'm not going to include it in this particular video. However, and they could be like good shorts and stuff. So I'm not going to put it in this particular video. Let's see what else there is. George, one only George says top 3 NBA players of all time. I would say my top 3 players are Shaq, Russ, and LeBron James. Those are my top 3. Russ is the reason why I support OKC. I know there was a question in there somewhere. Russ is the reason why I support OKC. So Russell Westbrook, Shaquille O'Neal is the reason why I even ever started watching basketball. Well, he was my first favorite basketball player, and LeBron James is my GOAT. So that is my top 3. But hey, if SGA gets me this ring, can't lie, someone's coming out. Someone's coming out of that top 3. I'll be very, very honest with you. I'm just being honest. Isaac Newton, he says, how toxic has online fandom become through social media where they criticize every little thing? How does it feel where every opinion you give will get criticized no matter what because fans are never satisfied? That's a brilliant question. You know what? I can only imagine that it must be tough for football players, but at the same time, online fandom has become toxic because people always feel they have to take a side. And that's what it is. There's a big tribalism side to thing. And it's not tribalism only because it's like, that's my football player, apparently, because you own them. But that's my player, that's your player. They do it for every aspect of things. Like, every aspect, whether it's a player for another team that they love, or it's club or association, nation, whatever it is, there's always this level of tribalism. Tribalism's always been there, but now it's become very childish, and that's the difference. You know what I mean? People online are allowed to say whatever they want with no consequence. You're allowed to be faceless profiles and do whatever you want. So that's where the toxicity has come from. You can't say a football opinion now without being called a clown or of this or racially, but you just got to be able to block it out. And how it feels being a part of that is in terms of like, if I give an opinion, people are always never going to be satisfied. Honestly, you just take it on chin, because why I always say this is football. This is not me talking about my life. If people were talking to me how they talk and it was about my life, then it's different. But this is just football. Me saying this person's better than that person. If you disagree, just be respectful about it. That's perfectly fine. I'll respond sometimes. I'll talk. But it's one of them ones where it's my job to talk football. It's my job to do these things. So when people say, oh, you haven't, they're criticizing, oh, you have an opinion on this, or you said this time ago. I'm like, if you guys had to come up and speak daily and weekly, every single time about football, there is going to be times where you get something wrong. There is going to be times where you get loads of things right. But one thing for me is that I would admit when I'm wrong. If somebody gives me a different perspective of something, I'll be like, you know what? I never thought of it that way. And that's just the way you got to be. At the end of the day, no one's God. No one can be 100% right. Pep Guardiola is not 100% right. Mourinho, Ferguson, nobody's 100% right. Only God is right. You know what I mean? So what I would say for people is, it doesn't feel, I don't really feel any type of way. I would say Twitter is very toxic. It's a very toxic app. I always say, well, it's only when I'm bored, you know, sometimes I entertain on there. But honestly, it's definitely a place where it enables toxicity. So again, I don't think it's a big deal for me, because as much hate and toxic stuff there is in the football content space or online fandom, there's positives. You get people that love you and that support you. So for me, it's no big deal. People are dealing with much harder things in life, man. Much, much, much harder things in life. But I do think, yeah, online fandom has just reached a childish, it's very, very silly place. Very, very, very silly place. But that's the nature of the game. You know, the world, young people are growing up on the internet, and this is what they think is cool. You know, I didn't grow up from that era, but that's what people do. So yeah, man. Zach Jammer, he says, who is your favorite non-Barcelona Real Madrid player / Real Madrid player to have never played in the Prem? Wow. So they've never played. The player has to have never played in the Premier League. They've got to have not played for Barcelona or Real Madrid. Wow. Wow. I would probably say, that's a good question. I would probably say, that's a good question. You know, I'll probably say Pirlo. I'll probably say Andrea Pirlo or Francesco Totti. I would say one of them two, yeah. I was absolutely in love with Pirlo, man. I loved that guy. You know, absolutely special player. The touch, his IQ, his vision, his control, the way he could just dribble out of tight spaces, his free kicks, everything about him, man. And just how cool and composed he was. You know, I used to play number 6 sometimes, and bro, I used to just try and watch his videos and try and be calm and composed. But honestly, it's not easy. But yeah, man, I would probably say, because there's a lot of players that I like, but they played in the Prem at some stage, or they play for Real Madrid, they play for Barcelona. So I would probably say Totti. I just think he's a magician in that number 10 role. You know what I mean? Again, his touch, he was a magic. And those are the type of footballers I like. I like magic players, man. And he was genuinely so gifted, you know, and Pirlo. I'd say them too. So the Italians take that one. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anyone, but I think the Italians take that one. Appreciate it. It's been 30 minutes on this video. I don't want to bore you guys. Hit the like, share, subscribe, turn notifications on. It's your boy CultureCams. I really appreciate it. Anyway, another video is about to hit you guys, I'm sure, very, very shortly, because I'm in the booth. You know what I'm saying, guys? Big up. And again, playback.tv/culture. Come and join me for the OKC Game 2 watch along. Peace.